What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning into this next video of the Tamiya P-47. We're going to be using some Furball Studios decals and making the awesome decal version that is a live air show today. I really love this P-47 and couldn't wait to build this. So quite a bit of parts in this box. As you can see, there's 4 or 5 different sprues, one of them being clear, and as you can pretty much already tell, the quality of the kit is just really superb. The only thing is that I've been starting to build some newer Edward kits, and they all have some pretty nice rivets on them, whereas this kit did not have any rivets. So later on in the build, I actually go through and rivet the whole entire aircraft, which I wonder later why I do that, since it slows down the channel a lot. But anyways, without further ado, let's just get straight into the cockpit. So in the cockpit, it's pretty standard to just get the seat over with first and start clicking all these small parts together that fit on the interior of the cockpit. I did end up buying some aftermarket 3D decals for the cockpit itself, so we'll have to do some prep in order to get those to glue into the right spots and be flat and flush. In order to try to make this a little bit easier for myself, I stick some sticky tack, the blue is the best, onto a popsicle stick and stick those pieces onto the blue sticky tack so that they don't fly around everywhere, I don't lose any parts. These are the 3D decals that I'm actually using, and I got them off of eBay, so you could probably find a mass set there. It comes with pretty well detailed instructions, and it actually fit really well to the model. But first, we have to clear away some little parts and fiddly bits that are going to get in the way of making these 3D decals sit nice and flush. I use a X-Acto knife to scrape away any areas that are going to be affecting the overall look of the 3D decals, and just scrape away until it's just flat. There is an option, you can sand this stuff off too if you want to be that tidy, but I just opted to use the X-Acto knife where I could and use a file where I also could. So whichever was easiest for me, I did. Again, the same goes for the actual instrument panel itself. It can all be scraped off, make sure it's nice and flat so that the interior decals can stick right to them. Next, I prime the areas with a green Vallejo primer. I mix Vallejo primer with Vallejo thinner. It just makes for a nice, clean, and easy mix. A few drops goes a long ways with the primer, especially because that's kind of already watered down. So a few drops of this and you're good to go on surface priming all of your olive drab surfaces for the interior of the P-47. Next, I'm going to assemble this engine. Now, the engine wasn't very decaled, but you know, it's pretty well hidden in the cowling. Not much is to be said about the engine, and I hate doing wires anyways. I'm not the type of modeler to spend too much time on a model. Like, I build for a collection. I don't really build for awards. And I just like building airplanes. That's the joy of it, is having the airplanes, looking at the box art, and building the best I can with the time allotted that I have. And let's face it, I have, like, a lot of kits. I want to get through all of them. I want to build all of them. It's just super fun to build. I don't dibble and dabble in much details, but I do try my best where I can. And one of those areas is actually airbrushing. I do enjoy airbrushing. So in the interior of the cockpit, I decided to try a method which I have done before, and I thought it looked pretty good before. So I opted to put a little bit of extra effort in this interior cockpit and pre-shade with some white in the actual cockpit of the P-47, and I gotta say, it added just a little bit, a hair of depth to the actual build. Typically, I don't do this. I think I've only done this maybe twice before on certain interest kits that I've had, and it's a really easy step to take. It takes like 5 minutes just to pre-shade this area, so, you know, honestly, I think I might be doing it a little bit more because the after effect was actually really nice. I then placed around some shadow brown just to kind of give it a little bit more depth. It may have covered up some of the white, but I mean, it's a cockpit, so it's pretty much going to be hidden. The reason why I did the brown is because I noticed the green was so green. It was very, very like chromate green. So this green was actually intermediate cockpit green from AK Weathering and AK Interactive. It's just really green, and I was a little bit scared of it. So that's why I put in the brown shading, is to make that kind of add a little bit of brown tint to that super highlighter type green color. Next, I'm going to put some super glue on the instrument panel and get this thing stuck to it. Now, I want to advise, please do not use too much super glue. It does actually make the paper underneath the decal tear up. So it happened on one of the side panels that I did. I used way too much. It folded over the sides and then actually ended up making it look like well, exactly what it was. It exploded the paper underneath the decal. So use a hair of super glue for attaching the decals. I really find it nifty putting all these little tiny details in the build itself, as I couldn't do half as good with a brush. So I do call it cheating, but I don't mind cheating because it makes my life easier, and I like easier things, especially when it's your hobby and you're supposed to be having fun. Now, I do enjoy painting cockpits just as much. It's just this way is a little bit quicker. So for $4 or $7 to make your life easier, it's a no-brainer for me. Next, I installed the seat belts to the actual back of the seat. This was a bit tricky and took several minutes because I had to wait for that super glue to dry. If anyone knows where to get some good super glue setter or whatever, let me know in the comments because I definitely need some. I thought these seatbelts were really highly detailed, and I enjoyed the quality of them being able to really bend around the surfaces of the actual seat itself. Now, I know it doesn't look like much, and they might be gravity defying a little bit, but this settled in. But you can see right here where that paper is just torn up. So I took some black and touched up those marks where you can see the paper behind where the super glue exploded it. You can see on the panel after I painted it black a little bit there. Next, I can attach all these panels and finally get this thing all pieced together. As you can see, it really did add a lot of lifelike realities to the interior of this cockpit, and I'm super happy with the outcome of this set of decals. Now, I could not find Quinta Studios decals for this P-47 from Tamiya. I think it's an old kit, so maybe they don't make them, they don't sell them enough or something, but I couldn't find any, and the ones that were going on eBay were like $50. So I went for the ones that were just $7 and easy, and they worked out great. Next, it's time to actually do some assembly here. As you can imagine, the parts already fit perfectly together, so if you paint them before you put them together, you're going to run into a little bit of fit issues. So I had to really squeeze these parts in, and also you should probably install the wing spar into the fuselage before you paint it, and also put the fuselage together before you paint that wing spar. It's pretty much unnecessary step that I took in order to get these things together, and as you can see, it really was a struggle to get them together. But once they were together, it was a perfect fit like usual. I will have to say, the decals did actually make the fit a little bit snug. I should have trimmed the exterior of the aftermarket decals because they actually ended up splitting the fuselage, but I mean, it wasn't that much. I was able to put a clamp on the fuselage and glue it all together, so it wasn't much, but some trimming could be done in order to prevent any struggle with clamping the fuselage halves together, as I really don't glue it and walk away. I kind of just sit there and wait for the glue to dry, to be honest, so I'm just one of those people. But the fit literally fits perfectly. There hardly was anything to sand at all. I mean, I took 2000 grit paper to it and it was done. For the top half, yeah, there was a bit of a gap just because of knife gouging, based on my own inability to cut carefully around the fuselage halves. Next, I just fill in these panel lines that need to be recut after sanding a little bit, and I use that with a microblade. That's a pretty simple thing to do as well. It's a bit intimidating at first, but once you know that this method works, is to cut it and then put some Tamiya extra thin on the seams itself. It's a really simple step in your modeling, and it really changes the game when it comes to panel lines. Now, doing circle panel lines and things like that are a bit different, but these straight panel lines that go along every single fuselage to make a kit average, I think that it's a necessary step and anybody could do it. Next, I use some Model Master Silver, and that is a delicacy in the modeling world, if you like delicacies like that, on the engine to give it a nice little detailed shine. I dry brush with a really stiff-ended brush, and I just coat it until it looks right to my eyes. Basically, not really going for much on this engine. I want this build kind of over with, as there are bigger fish to fry. I was kind of really hoping the kit was going to be an awesome kit, but I was trying some new things out with some Outclad, and some things did go wrong. So, be it as it may, I figured out that they were going wrong, and I didn't spend a lot of time on some details that I probably could have. So I'm assembling the rest of the kit, and yeah, I'm ready to put this thing together. This is probably one of my favorite steps, and I kind of brought me back to nightmare days of the Revel P-47 kit, as there was no attachment point for this cowling. The only attachment point was the cowling flaps that go up and down, just like this, and I was like, what the heck? This thing isn't going on. What's going on here? And I remembered I completely forgot to put the attachment point on for the cowling itself. So let's get to that. There's a lot of skipped steps that I had in this build, as my room was a bit messy. But once you got that thing on there, it literally fit on there perfect. It was so easy. And also, I don't have to worry about it falling off or anything like the Revel kit. Next, I do some standard assembly for the rest of the kit to make sure everything's going in the right places before I start to prime. Next, I apply a Montex mini mask for the P-47. The item code for this is SM48005, and you can find the Montex mask on eBay. I think I found this one on eBay for like $10, and I definitely have an issue with the vinyl cutouts. I've used them a few times. I've used them 2 times, and both times were literally just eyeball melting tragedy, and like what the heck do I do? Because they're so sticky that it's really hard to pull off, in a couple weeks when you finish your model. So I really recommend, I think it's worth it to go out and get the rice paper ones wherever you can get them. I couldn't find any. I think there was a couple on eBay, but I was like, okay, the Montex one are $10 and the other ones are like 40. So, with shipping and all that crap. So I just was like, all right, I'll go with the cheaper one. But yeah, they work, but definitely glue your canopies with Tamiya cement all the way around so that they have a firm bond, and just take your time, because, dude, it's so scary pulling this stuff off. It just sticks too much. And if you stick it on your hand so that it doesn't stick, it won't stick at all. If you kind of use the oils from your hand and then stick it onto the aircraft, it really won't stick at all. So I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of the vinyl mask. Not with anything. I don't like anything vinyl tape or anything. It kind of pulls off paint. It's really difficult to take off. Way too sticky and really stiff. Next, I am actually putting a base coat of gloss black on, and I'm using all Alclad's paints. So I primed it in Alclad primer, and now I'm using Alclad gloss black for the gloss finish. I thought this was probably the better pick. I apply light coats to see how that does, but it was better for me to use a nice thick heavy coat to get a nice glossy surface. And the paint sprays so beautifully that you know, you're not going to get too much chunks. I sprayed Alclad chrome on the whole aircraft, so it was super duper shiny, just like the real one. And I thought the hue of the chrome, I tested a few of them, I thought the hue was matching the real P-47. Next, I used some Tamiya tape to tape off the flat black areas that this is getting painted. Now, I realized that the real aircraft probably had an olive drab stripe, but I'm mimicking the real one that's doing air shows today, and it has a solid black stripe. So I don't know, I never looked into it. I think it looks cool as an air show thing, and I like the flat black stripe, even though it probably would have given a little bit more character to have the olive drab one, and follow history maybe a little bit better, but I like the version that's optable, so that's just what I liked, so I built it that way. As you know, I'm just remembering the trip to Oshkosh and seeing the whole air show itself. It's just mesmerizing, man. It was so cool. The dude flew the P-47 just incredibly, and he got so low, man. Probably the best World War II aircraft air show of the whole trip was the P-47, because, you know, a few times you come out of the split S and be like, are you going to pull up yet? You know, and it was just super cool, man. It really mesmerizing, and I had a great time watching that air show with my dad. It was really special. And it was like the last one we saw before we left and everything. If you're doing this, I suggest probably using some cheaper paint, as it needs like 5 or 6 coats to get this fully covered over the chrome or aluminum paint. So definitely needs a lot of coats after the aluminum. I probably would suggest maybe doing the black stripes first, as you've already put primer on it. Maybe I should have done that or thought about it, but I didn't. Yeah, and once you get the black stripes done, then you can just pull the tape off. And this went very smooth. All the tape worked perfectly. I made sure to use like a toothpick and a Q-tip to crease all those lines down on the lines, and they came out so crisp, as you can see. I used a lot of reference pictures from Google and Oshkosh to get the stripes right on this thing, and I still think they might be off. I'm not sure, but they're really close. I just used it's kind of funny, I used a tape measure to do this, so obviously I could tell that it really was not that perfect. But hey, you know what? I use a tape measure for my job. I'm pretty good with it cutting some lumber, so used it on this, and turns out I can be down to the millimeter with a tape measure, you know, really testing my contractor skills with a tape. Really showed my colors in the scale modeling world from learning from my real job. Next, I wanted to get these realistic lines looking right. The real version had those types of lines, and it looked like they were like painted, you know, just to give it the realistic look that it had, the corrosion underneath when it was shipped overseas. A couple other reasons that this happened, but you know, it's really hard to paint straight lines with just a brush. So this took a few attempts, and I had to wash it off and clean it off if they weren't looking perfect or straight or kind of wonky. So I just gave it a few good attempts and started learning how to draw really straight lines with a brush, and just did the best I could. Now on the actual P-47 itself, it's literally not perfect. It's kind of wiggly everywhere, and it looks kind of a mess, like the real one probably would have looked. So I really wasn't, you know, not too worried about straight lines. Next, I applied decals before I even painted, and realized that was a mistake. I didn't even realize I was doing it when I did it, and I did it. So yeah, I even did both sides. Like, I didn't even realize it, and I was like, looked at the decal sheet, I'm like, oh dude, the rudder's white. I didn't even realize it. But anyways, these decals are freaking amazing. You know, the Model Geeks talk about furball designs, decal mask sheet, and they're absolutely right. These decals are literally amazing. Like, Probably some of the best decals I've ever worked with. Thank God I didn't have to use Tamiya decals for a aluminum finish warbird, because it would have been a nightmare. I also bought a different set of decals. They're Aeromaster decals for the same version of the P-47. Obviously, you can see that the tail doesn't quite fit exactly right, but at least it has a white underneath the finish, so I was able to get the correct tail thing on there without having it be too much of a trouble. Next, I just apply all the rest of the decals that the warbird has and get those numbers on. And, you know, this phase is really relaxing to me, but recently I've realized that I'm becoming a bit more impatient with it as it just takes too long. Sometimes on aircraft, I'll spend 4 or 5 hours just decaling. So even though it's a quicker way to go about things, I still take a lot of time to do it to make sure that it looks right. After all the decals are on, I can finally pull my hair out while doing this, so just bear with me. As you can tell, I'm really straining and pulling really hard to get this stuff off. It comes off, like, there's no doubt about it, it comes off. But getting the corners up are the literally most stressful part, and I've scratched so many canopies on pretty much every single one of my builds. So as you can tell, I'm a bit skeptical about me handling difficult things to pull off of canopies. Next, I pull out all the foam and attach the landing gear. We are approaching the end of the build here, and I just want to give a quick shout out and say thank you guys to all my subscribers. Please, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, and I just appreciate every build. I just do this because I love modeling and I love sharing with people. Definitely comment below how you think this build went. I have some t-shirts for sale. You can go get those. That just supports the channel, and it also gives you something a little bit back to just have for yourself. They're cool dream build t-shirts, and they're freaking awesome. I really want one myself. I haven't even bought one because I don't know, I just haven't. I bought a couple other ones that are just my logo, but I just am so thrilled and amazed that my channel is where it's at, and I'm just so grateful. So thank you guys so much. And also, there's a membership box that you can sign up for. If you sign up for the membership box, that means you're going to earn a chance to win a free model, a decal kit, or a surprise decal option, or a surprise extra that comes with it. Also, you'll get a sticker for sure, and there's a whole bunch of things that you could win in this model box. I don't want to I don't want to share with you or divulge too much into what comes in the box because I really want you to be surprised. But you're gonna get a nice 48 scale model kit, a nice thing that comes along with it, a sticker, and a sincere thank you for being a member. Every single month that you're subscribed, you automatically enter a chance to win the box, so make sure you hit the membership subscription. There's 2 membership subscription options. You can pick the smaller one or the bigger one. Obviously, the bigger one's going to get you a lot better options, so definitely hit the bigger one and you'll have a way better chance to win a way awesomer model. So definitely hit that button. You're going to get a new kit for sure, and continue along in the next video. Thank you guys so much again. Enjoy the photo op, and we will see you next time.